Day everyone, meteorologist Robert Spetta here with you on today, the 3rd of October 2011. We continue to watch Tropical Storm Nalgae here today, moving off towards the west, expecting to make a landfall tomorrow across the island of Hainan, as you're already seeing rain showers move on shore across that island as well today, and then eventually into the mid part of this week, going to start seeing those rains increase over Vietnam, where they do not need any more rain showers. Also, we continue to watch this deep trough of low pressure persisting across the Ryukyu Islands and stretching out here towards east of Honshu and then off towards the northeast. Behind that, though, a cold surge ridging in from the north. You do see that kind of evident here on these clouds rushing in off of Russia. We'll talk about that more in a second. But also, we have an invest down here, invest 90W, that we're continuing to watch just north of Palau. You can see a little tiny swirl in the clouds right in there, and that does have potential for development over the next several days. But first, let's dive into Tropical Storm Nalgae here, moving off towards the west. Current intensity of this system right near the center of circulation, which is right about in here, is 50, gusting up to 70 knots with a central pressure of about 985 HPA. But good news, seeing a lot of vertical wind shear hitting the northern portion of the system, and that is why you see all the convection down here towards the southwest. Actually, if we pull up the vertical wind shear chart right in here, you do see basically the analysis here showing about 30 to 40 knots up here towards the north over China, but that extends all the way down here towards the south as well, and that's why you see all that convection persisting off towards the west of this system right now. So really good news, because that's causing the system to weaken, but there still is some rain showers associated with this, as shown on the microwave imagery here, just showing these areas in red. That's showing those higher cloud tops and that deep convection where some severe thunderstorms could potentially be still located as well, and also showing here in the light blue, those are those low clouds swirling around the center of circulation there. So the system still does have potential to cause some destruction out here. And as I already noting, actually here in Hainan, you just had Typhoon Haitong move through, and then Typhoon Nesset, and now we have Nalgae moving across the region. And this is showing the most recent radar imagery out of that island there, just showing some of these bandings already moving onshore, and you're already seeing actually pretty high totals adding up in here. In Hainan, you do have 86 millimeters in the past 24 hours as this moved across so far. And also another little island out here in the South China Sea, actually associated with the paracels, you're seeing about 105 millimeters in the past 24 hours, while Vietnam, you're not even seeing the landfall with the system yet, but as I noted earlier, a lot of that shear pushing that convection off towards the southwest here, so you're already seeing the rainfall across that region, and already 132 millimeters in Hue, Vietnam there, and that is going to add onto the numbers we've been seeing in the past several weeks and increase the chance of flooding out there. So really a dangerous situation across Vietnam, Laos, and the rest of Indochina as this moves towards the west. Along the southern periphery of an area of high pressure off towards the north that we were talking about earlier, looks like a lot of the model consensus has come together on the storm basically going due west, clipping southern coast of Hainan here before moving on towards Vietnam. I know a lot of the models kind of cut off right in here. That's basically because they're expecting the storm to continue to dissipate out due to that land interaction with the rugged terrain there, but also the increase in vertical wind shear. So here's a look at actually the Japan Meteorological Agency's track on this system, clipping the southern coast there, as I already know, then moving on towards Vietnam as a weak tropical storm, possibly even a tropical depression, hopefully by making landfall by the morning of the 6th out there. So really the big threat with this system is not going to be the winds, but it's going to be more so of the strong precipitation associated with this system as it moves across this already saturated region. But as this system does track off towards the west, I've been talking about this area of high pressure off here towards the north. Well, that's the Asiatic high still spilling in from the north here, bringing much cooler temperatures across the region. Also some gusty winds across southern China and the East China Sea here, indicated by that tight gradient pulling in from the northeast and pushing towards the southwest in that clockwise circulation around this high. Well, south of that as well is this stationary boundary extending here east of Honshu and all the way out towards Taiwan and the Ryukyu Islands, and that's going to be bringing some cloudy skies and also some precipitation out there. Which, if we go back to the satellite imagery here, you can start to see that little baroclinic leaf developing up here in the East China Sea. Moving on to the model outlook, you can see it moving off towards the west after it develops. See this big area here in red? Well, that's a little polar low kind of developing off on that stationary boundary, and it's going to bring some precipitation out here towards eastern Honshu, where if you've noticed in the last several weeks, not only have the Philippines and much of Indochina been seeing these typhoons, but also Talas and Roki made landfall out here in Honshu, and this is going to be the first significant rainfall since those two tropical systems as well. So we're going to continue to watch this little polar low develop and move across across Honshu here by midweek, and then it should start to dissipate by the afternoon of Thursday and into Friday before it moves off towards the east, and then the high pressure is going to start to ridge in behind that as well. You do have another little low hitting Hokkaido as well, but that looks like it's going to stay well north of those typhoon affected areas. But that high pressure, as that moves in, it's going to be much cooler temperatures with that too, so good news, a little cool off on the heat. That cool off is actually pretty apparent on satellite imagery right now. I was talking earlier about these clouds forming up over the Sea of Japan here. Well, that's actually a little weather lesson for you. As the colder air runs off of Russia here, it's actually hitting these warmer waters out here, and that's what's causing this buildup in these clouds right in here, and actually the beginning of a lake effect type snow. As you get that cooler air running over those warmer waters, that's what causes these clouds to build up, and eventually is going to bring the potential for some ocean effect snow out there, kind of similar to the lake effect snow you'll see in the Great Lakes region in the United States. Well, out here along the west coast of Hokkaido, Sapporo specifically, you see a lot of that snowfall out there, and it looks like the beginning of this autumn into winter season starting to affect here as you start to see the clouds form up. Now, I'm not saying it is snowing up there, but definitely just the beginning of the synoptic pattern that would set up for it. And lastly, I do want to talk about this area of convection down near Palau. I know it has a lot of people worried, but good news at this time, doesn't look like it's going to develop up too rapidly here. At least you're going to have several days throughout the week before any possible development comes out of this system, as it remains fairly disorganized. Actually, just look at the ASCA imagery, and overall there's no apparent cyclonic circulation across the region. You do have a little bit of a westerly flow, and north of it you do have an easterly flow, and right in this region you do have those crosswinds, and that's where you're seeing that little swirl in the clouds back on the IR imagery. But overall, nothing clearly organized at this time, and that is great news, thankfully. But we're going to continue to watch this area of convection out here near Palau. At the very least, it might bring some precipitation over towards Visayas and possibly the Metro Manila area by the latter part of this weekend, but we'll continue to keep a close eye on that system for the time being. But that is all for right now, everyone. Thanks again for watching here at westernpacificweather.com. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, as usual, please post them in the comment box below. And also here in the top left, if you click this link up here, you can check out Pat's video update on this typhoon, or excuse me, tropical storm Nalgae as well. So thanks again, everybody. Stay safe out there, and please check back here at the YouTube channel or westernpacificweather.com for our future updates.